That's right, we're sitting in a different spot today, and that's because I'm doing a Q&A, and I feel like that's something I should do in the comfort of my own living room. It's not my spot on the couch though. The lighting's not good enough in that spot. Kia ora, my name's Kimmy, I talk Formula 1 in the world's second worst accent, and last week I put out a call for a September Q&A session. I didn't have anything planned for this week apart from the usual pre-race on Thursday, and I thought, you know what, why not do a Q&A on Tuesday instead of something scripted? So here we are. Me, my computer, and some questions that I haven't read yet. Wish me luck. Now, because I am a very small YouTuber, I don't have a heck of a lot of responses, but I did receive 6. So for those of you who sent me in questions, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's very, very cool to see. I believe most of you are patrons, so that's even cooler. Now, I do ask when I do these Q&As that they are kept relatively F1 related. It is okay if you, for whatever reason, are curious about me. I don't know why you would be, but if you are, that's cool. Just the priority is very much on the F1 related questions. I have skimmed these. I know there are 3 questions from one person, so I will read those out in order. I actually really like it when people send in multiple questions because it means that I'm piquing some kind of curiosity, you guys want to engage in a dialogue, which I really enjoy. Also, I'm not wearing my microphone near my necklace today. If you heard some popping and cracking in the last video, I know it was there. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to re-record it, as I did say in a little thing on the side. You might have just been listening audio only. If you were, you wouldn't have seen that. I do work. I have 2 jobs. I have a workplace job and I do my own thing here at home, and I'm also an artist, and I have just recently started a new channel for my art that's kind of like ASMR-esque, no face, no dialogue, just me documenting my art process and posting it, but that's beside the point. So yeah, I do basically have 2 jobs. I also do this probably 20 to 30 hours a week, and I don't always have time to re-record things if something goes wrong, unfortunately. So I do apologise for the audio quality sometimes. Basically, it happens. And today, you might hear a lot of trucks going past. I don't know why. There's a lot of trucks going past outside my house. I wonder if maybe the main road is closed again. Anyway, housekeeping out of the way. I'm sure I've lost a shitload of viewers in that 5 minutes that I've just been talking. So yeah, those of you who have stuck around, thanks. Appreciate it. So first question, if you had your own team in F1, what would you call it and who would be your 2 drivers? I would call it Lamborghini. The thing about F1 teams, right, it's always either somebody's surname or the name of a manufacturer. And my surname, this is a pseudonym, by the way, it is a related name to me that I use on here, but that is not my actual surname. I would rather not put it out there on the internet. There are people who watch me who know what it is. Please don't post it in the comments. My surname is difficult to say. Not difficult to say, it's just there's a lot of F's and T's in it, and it's so I wouldn't name it my surname. What I would do is I would change the name of Audi to Lamborghini. Because I really think that Lamborghini and F1 is just, you know, it's my favourite brand of hypercar and supercar. Sentimentality. And who would be my 2 drivers? I think you have to discount Max Verstappen from this situation, because I think everyone would say Max Verstappen. However, I think Max's longevity in F1 is questionable. So I would say Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc. They would be my 2 picks, Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc. If we're talking current drivers, I wouldn't put an upcoming driver in there. I think we just stick with 2 people that I think are performing at a very high level, and I think could potentially work quite well together. Next question. How do I click the button? It's been so long since I've used Google Forms. Here we go. Oh, and that was from JD Foley, by the way. Thank you, JD. This is the first one from MVA. I think there's 3 from MVA. There is. So first question from MVA. Is Piastri being lured by other teams? Which team would lay off the let them race but obey team orders contradiction and fit his style? I don't think that Oscar is the one in that pairing who is being, I mean, I'm not to say that he isn't being romanced by other team principals. He certainly will be, as is any good driver. But I think the more likely person to leave McLaren at this point is actually Lando Norris. And I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about why that is. I don't like, personally, watching how Lando is spoken to by his engineer, watching how Lando is treated by McLaren. It all just feels a little bit patronising to me. And I feel like he's being gaslit into believing certain things that aren't necessarily true. Now, this is just my opinion, okay? 100% my opinion. I do not know what is going on inside that organisation. And it's just from the outside, as somebody who's experienced certain things in business environments, I see a lot of what I've experienced in the past with Lando. I have discussed that in previous videos before. I'm not accusing McLaren of anything. I'm just saying this is the vibe I get. Please, McLaren, if you'd ever like to invite me to your factory, don't let this be a slight on that. Honestly, I think that probably getting rid of Andreas Seidel was a good step with the culture of that team. But yeah, I think Lando will be the one to go, and I think that's because he will come to certain realizations around his future in that team. And I think that Oscar is probably the one that will have the longevity there. And this is not me saying that I think that McLaren is favouring Oscar, because I do not at all think that McLaren is favouring Oscar. I think that everything that is going on there right now is kind of messy, and I'm here for it. The contradiction of not liking it when people are being treated in a way that feels a little bit, but at the same time, you kind of love to see it. This is the reality of being a Formula One fan. Question number 2 from MVA, if it will load. Who is a better fit as Max's teammate if the grid were wide open? There are 2 people that I think would be the best teammates for Max, current drivers who I think would be the best teammates for Max. Number 1 is Charles Leclerc. The problem with Charles Leclerc is that would be a very contentious battle, and Max would not be the clear number 1, and Charles would not want to be the clear number 2. Basically, you've got to discount Charles Leclerc because as a team dynamic, you've got to wonder, would it work? Probably not. Therefore, my answer is Alexander Albon. For a couple of reasons. One, Alex understands how that team works. He has developed a hell of a lot over his years in Williams since coming back to the grid. He's proven that he can outperform an exceptional driver in Carlos Sainz, and granted, yes, Sainz has had some bad luck in some dodgy situations, bad pit stops, bad strategic calls, incidents that caused him damage that weren't always his fault. So there is extenuating circumstances there. However, you can't deny that Alex has 100% done an absolutely brilliant job this season, made the most of a car that is improving. And he does like a car that's a little bit on the nose. Not as much as Max, as he has talked about in podcasts before, but I think now that Red Bull, their philosophy and how they develop their car and how they set their car up is much more driver-focused rather than engineering and science-focused, would be a better environment for Alex to go back into. And I think that genuinely Alex probably at this point in time is the ideal person on the grid, the current grid, to be Max's teammate. I reckon Red Bull should lure him back. And I think that now that Christian Horner's out of the picture, it would be a completely different situation for him to what it was the first time around. Because the first time around, that just wasn't fair, what they did to him. So yeah, that is my answer to that. And the third question from MVA, how are the drivers going to cope with quali traffic with another 2 teams on the grid? Well, they have done it before. Honestly, I wasn't actually watching back in 2012 because I no longer had Sky, but I do remember that it was still the current format because that's been since, 2010. So with another 2 cars on the grid, it is going to be tricky, particularly in the short laps like Monza or Austria, Monaco's going to be interesting. So I think that they need to start reconsidering the qualifying format, particularly in sprints. I think that the sprint is going to be the big problem because obviously, as I said, we have had the current Q1, Q2, Q3 qualifying format with 24 cars on the grid, not 22, back in 2012. But we haven't had a shortened version of that as it is the case with sprints. So if we get an Austria sprint again next year, that's going to be interesting. It might be time to start reconsidering the sprint format qualifying, particularly going into something like, I think one-shot qualifying for sprints makes a whole lot of sense. I have discussed that before. I think it'd be fun to make it slightly different as well, and it will hopefully reduce that kind of level of chaos. It's 10% more cars. They'll manage. They'll be fine. So thank you, MVA, for your 3 questions. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for sending them through. Then we have one from another patron, Tidy Kiwi. If you could pick any Grand Prix to go to next year, money and logistics no object, which one would it be and why? Money and logistics no object. That's the key thing for this part of the world, isn't it? You guys don't even want to know how much we spent going to Singapore and Australia the last couple of years. Just about bankrupted us, honestly. The logistics thing is the big thing here, because honestly, I would actually really like to go to the US Grand Prix. I think that Circuit of the Americas is an awesome circuit. It's not my favourite, but it's certainly up there. The atmosphere there is fantastic. I would absolutely love to be sitting on that banking at turn 1 and see the cars come up the hill. I think that's one of the great sights of Formula One, is that massive, massive incline going up into turn 1. I would love to see the race start from there. That would just be so cool. It doesn't cost that much for us to actually get to Texas when you compare it to some other places, because we can get there in 2 flights. Most other places, it'll take us 3. But we can go Nelson to Auckland, and then we can go Auckland direct to Houston. Get a rental car, drive to Austin, like do a bit of a road trip. Our ideal would actually be we've discussed this many times, Biz and I, because our ideal thing would be actually to fly from Auckland to San Francisco and then road trip all the way through to Austin, because we've got some people that we know, some friends along the way, some friends who live near the Grand Canyon. That'd be really cool to go and visit them. But obviously at the moment, the logistics is a big issue. Just going to the US right now, I would not do, just purely from an ethical standpoint. I don't believe that it's appropriate to be going to the US right now with my political beliefs. And it's dangerous. You just don't know if you're going to get detained. There are so many stories of people being immediately deported for no reason, people being detained for no reason. I just wouldn't want to risk it, even if I didn't have other reasons not to want to go. So, yeah, it would be the US Grand Prix, I think. I would love to go and soak up that atmosphere. It looks like an absolute great time. I really want to go to America. I just don't want to go to America right now. Yeah. So that's the answer to that. Downer. I actually would also really like to go to the inaugural Madrid Grand Prix. That's not so much logistically a nightmare. But it is almost exactly on the other side of the world. It is not quite the antipode to where I am right now. Where I am right now, it's somewhere in Portugal. But yeah, I would like to go to that as well, just because I would love to go to a first event to kind of review it, just see what all the kinks are, see what works, see what doesn't work. So if anyone would like to invite me to go to Madrid, pay for my trip, and possibly pay for a hospitality as well, you let me know. My email's in my profile. Yeah, you can get to it from my main page. Wink wink. Okay, final question. Saving the best till last. From Daryl, who is possibly the biggest legend on the planet. Daryl says, with the last race being the fastest GP in history, so if you're watching this in the future, which is unlikely because the YouTube algorithm basically just kills my videos after like a day and a half. The last race was Monza 2025. With the last race being the fastest GP in history at around 1 hour and 15 minutes, do you think it's time that a GP's lap number should be determined by taking the average lap time and calculating the number of laps that could be achieved in a set time? For example, 1 hour and 45 minutes, which would make Monza 71 laps rather than 53. This would also make races more strategic. Even if it was a full wet race, the present rules have a maximum race time not exceeding 2 hours, I believe. F1 is meant to be the pinnacle of motorsport and the ultimate test of man and machine, and Monza just felt like a sprint race. If I spent €300 on what was the average ticket price, I would feel pissed off. It just bought me 75 minutes of racing, just 15 minutes longer than a practice session. Oh, and ducks always win. The ducks always win is a reference to the fact that I always get that Godzilla-sized duck versus duck-sized Godzilla question, and it really drives me up the wall. So I'd say, please don't ask me one of those dumb questions. So thank you, Daryl, for that. As always, you're an absolute legend. Always asking really great questions, and always been a massive support down in the comments, and I really appreciate you a lot. So to answer your question though, yes, I do think that shorter races need to be extended. There is obviously the issue of the fuel load. I'm not sure how that would change. I think they're reducing it to 100 kgs of fuel maximum next year, are they? I can't remember exactly what the regulation is with the new power units, but they are reducing the amount of fuel. Let's have a look. How much fuel can F1 cars have in 2026? I am going to trust the AI answer here. I never do that, but I'm being really lazy. 70 to 80 kg of fuel per race. Okay. Yeah. Look, I genuinely do think that races like Monza need to be longer, and I agree. I think strategically, it was basically a sprint race. There were certain strategy kind of elements to it that were a little bit intriguing, but overall, it was, as I said in my post-race of it, it was a 5. But I feel like if it had been 20% longer, it could have been an 8 or a 9. I think that could have been a really, really good race if it had just been a little bit longer. And I know that Max ran away and won by a whole bunch, but that could have been different as well. To be fair, I love to see it. That was awesome to see Max back on the top step. But it gives more opportunity for people to stuff up, basically. And if people make errors, that's when you get unexpected wins like what we had with Max. But yeah, the issue is the fuel load situation. So you would have to increase the fuel load. Otherwise, there would be more lifting and coasting, more fuel management, and that would make for an exciting race. So with the fuel tanks only being a certain size, you can't really compress the fuel any further. They'd need to consider whether or not you would have a different specification fuel tank for certain races, which then obviously affects everything else going on in the car. So whether or not there was a way that they could put have one size fuel tank, but then have a dual layer system whereby they were still the same physical size, however you would have different amounts of fuel still under the same amount of pressure at the start of the race, then I suppose that could somehow work. But yeah, I do think I just want to see longer Grand Prix, to be honest. I don't like seeing under an hour and a half. I think 1 hour and 45 to 2 hours is the perfect length of a race. When you consider all the build up and the lead up and everything, yeah, that's 4 hours, more than 4 hours of broadcasting. But I don't know, you sit down for an event for a Grand Prix, right? And it's still the same amount of time as you have for a 2020 match in cricket, or for a football match when you consider all of the stoppages, American football I'm talking about. So yeah, as I said in my Monza post race, I don't think that we should be looking at shorter races. I know that Domenicali's saying, oh, you slightly kind of mistook me there. No, we didn't, bro, we didn't. All options need to be considered basically means we're considering it. Yeah, I don't agree that things should be shorter. I think things should be longer. Sprints are sprints, Grand Prix are Grand Prix. They need to be as separate as possible. And like having a sprint race that takes 45 minutes to an hour versus a race that takes an hour and 15 minutes, that just seems crazy. So yeah, that's my answer to that. Thank you, Daryl, for that question. And that's it. That's all I've got. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like my videos. Don't forget to click the like button. I've been being buried quite a bit recently, which is becoming really frustrating. So please, if you do miss my stuff, like if you don't see it, I don't mean if you miss it, like, oh, I miss it. I mean, if you don't see it, the best way to actually see when I've posted new things is to go to your subscriptions feed and scroll through it, and you'll see a little dot when somebody's posted a new video and you haven't clicked on it. Go and do that for all of the people that you like, and you might be surprised at how many people you've totally missed them posting new videos. It's been an interesting few weeks, that's for sure. I also, as I mentioned at the start, have got a new art channel. If you enjoy kind of ASMR style, like watching people's creative process without any talking and without any like faces, then go watch that. I'm trying to be a little bit cinematic on that channel. I think it worked pretty well, the first one. Please only go and follow it and subscribe to it though if you genuinely do like art. Do not go and subscribe to it if you are just like, meh, I want to support Kimmy. Like, don't do that. that is the worst thing that you can do. Only go if you like art and want to actually watch my stuff. I will hopefully create some F1 stuff over there at some point. I am considering selling some of my work again. It's been a long time since I've sold stuff online or in galleries. I've mostly just done a lot of kind of digital commissions and things over the last few years. So this is the first time in ages that I've actively been making new physical art and considering selling it rather than just digital work that is already sold before I've even made it. So yeah, I hope I maybe might see a few of you over there if that's the kind of thing that you're into. But yeah, anyway, in the meantime, thank you as always to my patrons. You guys are up here. Also thanks to the 2 people who sent me super thanks with my last video. Again, so cool. I can't believe that people are sending me those. It's just so exciting. And yeah, ka kite. I hope to see you next time.